Hi, my name is Podcast, and I want to read to you from the book about the Donner Party called Patty Reed's Doll. It's about the Donner Party who traveled from Springfield, Illinois to Sutter's Fort here in California. Springfield to California. Now, I hope nobody is offended by what is said in this book about the Native Americans. That's the term that they used. The terms for Native Americans in this book are kind of, I wouldn't say everybody's cup of tea, but let's get started. Let's get started. Springfield, Illinois, 1846. I am a little wooden doll with a painted face and a knob of painted hair on top of my wooden head. This is told from this perspective of a little wooden doll that one of the children that were a part of the Donner Party had, including a journal and other artifacts that they found at Sutter's Fort where they perished. My cheeks are not so rosy as they once were, nor is my hair so glossy black. But is it any wonder? I was a pioneer, and the trails I had been through would change the face of almost any doll. I remember when first I heard of pioneering in covered wagons, Indians, and wilderness trails. It was in Grandma's big bedroom back in Springfield, Illinois, on the long winter evening of 1845. Hang on. My thing failed me. We sat in our rocking chairs, Parson Patty and I, toasting our toes by the warm fire in the grate and coaxing Grandma to tell us the stories. Grandma sat propped up with flouncy pillows in a high four-posted bed, a knitted shawl around her shoulders, and her thin gray curls tucked into a white nightcap. She was ailing and frail, for she was very old, but her talk was as lively as ever, as she told the tales we loved to hear about her childhood in Kentucky. Hang on. Okay, that's better. For Grandma had been a pioneer. She had traveled with her folks over the wilderness trail, Boone's Path, she called it, following the blazed trees that Daniel Boone himself had marked along the narrow rocky road across the Cumberland Mountains from Virginia to the canebrakes of Kentucky. All sorts of things she told us about pioneering. There was creeks to cross with ugly steep banks. She said our hands were blistering from clinging to the tree ropes and vines as we clambered up the slopes, and our legs were scratched by briars and thorn bushes. The trail zigzagged up the mountains along narrow ledges, and we could look down through the blue haze and see the green valleys far below. This made us eager to go ahead, for one of those green valleys was to be our new home. At night we heard the scary cries of wild animals, and always we were on the lookout for the painted faces of Indians peering through the brush. They would creep like bears through the long grass. All of a sudden, arrows would rain from nowhere. But before we could catch sight of the redskins, again, time period, they had melted into the woods again. We kept right close to the wagons. I can tell you we didn't fancy the notion of our scalps being tied to some wild Indian's belt again. I can't reiterate this enough. Time period. That's what Indians were. That's what Indians were perceived back in the 1800s. I don't know the correct term for it, but anyway. At last, Sunburn and Lakewood came to the valley where the settlements were. It looked mighty pretty to us, with the trees leafing out and the wind smelling sweet with wild apple blossoms. Father and the other men took up claims and commenced to clear the land. They worked from sunup to sundown, chopping trees and grubbing out shrubs and bushes to the corn, so the corn could be planted before summer. Men were hardly in those days, my dears. Their arms are strong and their axes sharp. Grandma lay back on her pillow, and her dark eyes had a faraway look in them, as though she was back in Kentucky helping her father seed the corn in the fresh plowed furrows of their new clearing. Patty and Puss eagerly begged for more, and Grandma went on to tell of fearsome Indian fights and escapes of how one of their neighbors was killed while searching for his plow horse after it had strayed into the woods, and how her aunt had been spirited away while she was gathering wild strawberries and kept as a slave for 5 long years in the Indian village away to the north. As Grandma related the story, Patty's black eyes grew bigger and blacker than ever. She gripped me tightly in her hand and kept peering over her shoulder as though the eerie shadow cast by the flames were really lurking savages ready to pounce upon us. By the time Grandma had finished her tale, we were almost too scared to scamper off to bed. Once there, Patty cuddled me close under the covers, whispering to me not to be afraid, for she would keep me safe from Indians. But I think she was the one who was frightened the most, and it was I who nestled up close, reassuring her. After hearing such stories of pioneers and Indians, imagine how we felt to be told that we were to be Imagine how we felt to be told that we were to become pioneers. One morning after breakfast, Patty came hurrying up to her room, and standing before the window seat where her family of dolls were sitting, the breathlessly disclosed the news. Papa said we were all going to be pioneers across the plains to California. It will be a healthier place for Mother, and lots of other people are going in the spring with wagons and oxen and everything for keeping house. Isn't it exciting? And you shall all have new outfits for the journey, and a little hair trunk to pack your best clothes in. I'll have my name put on it with nailheads, Patty Reed, and then no wild Indian would dare to steal it, saying it belongs to me. We only hope the Indians would understand in that way. As Patty buzzed away to talk it over with Grandma, I tried to explain to the other dolls just how this piece of news might affect us. But I knew what pioneering was from having heard Grandma's stories, and were not too pleased at the prospect. Rosalie opened her blue eyes wide and complained, "Oh dear." And this is Grandma telling her grandkids the stories of her pioneering days. And it says, "I remember well when I first heard of pioneering and covered wagons. Listening to dear Grandmama's stories. Oh dear, I don't believe I shall like being a pioneer doll. My new velvet cloak and the muslin gown may get mud-stained and dusty. How dreadful to think of leaving this nice clean window seat to travel in a wagon. Minnie, the big wooden doll, who was inclined to be of a jealous nature, and was always snubbing me because I was only 4 inches tall, remarked acidously, "Pioneering may be fine for you. You used to be knocked about. After all, you were just a little country cousin." She had heard Patty herself make that last remark, but I knew Patty didn't mean it the way Minnie thought she did. Patty loved me best of all her dolls, and she said I was a little country cousin only because my clothes are not so fine as theirs. Patty herself made them for me, while Grandma sewed the elegant outfits. Patty could not manage her needle quite well enough to do the fine sewing that Grandma did. So while their dresses had beautiful tucks and ruffles and fine feather stitching, my dress was usually a little square with a hole for my head sewed together with a few awkward stitches and tied around the middle with a bit of ribbon sash. But I did not envy my sister dolls their elegance. The gentle touch of Patty's fingers as she carefully bent my wooden joins and pulled a new frock over my painted head and then profoundly held me up for Grandma to see made me very happy because I was her little friend. Besides, she spent more time with me than with the others. I was just the right size to ride around in her apron pocket, and thus I came to know much more than they about family doings, and Patty and I shared a secret world all our own. If Patty was going pioneering, I wanted to go too, and I guess the others would feel the same way if it came to a choice between riding in a wagon or being left in some dark closet shelf as Puss's dolls were. She was 14 and had forgotten her doll family for a long time now. She had a pony named Billy, and we used to look down from our window, see into the yard below, and see her ride out the gate with her father. We wondered if time would come when we too would be gathering dust on the closet shelf while Patty rode out with the grown-ups. But that time had not come yet. Patty was only 8, and so far she would rather sit and sew at Grandma's bedside, run with messages downstairs to her mother or Eliza in the kitchen, or play with her little brothers Tommy and Jimmy. Always with me in the apron pocket. Yes, if there was any dust to be gathered, I much prefer to gather it out on the trail with Patty than on a shelf in the dark closet. I was present in Patty's apron pocket when the family gathered on Grandma's bed that afternoon to talk over the pioneering venture with her. Mr. and Mrs. Reed, Patty's father and mother, plainly did not think that Grandma would be able to go with them, and they gently tried to explain how Uncle Gershom, Grandma's eldest son, and his wife would come to live in the big white house that we should be leaving, and that Grandma would stay right where she was in a comfortable bed, and they would take good care of her. The old lady sat up bright and sudden at the thought of this. "Now you listen here, James Fraser Reed," I heard her say. You're not taking daughter Margaret and these grandchildren of mine one step of the way west unless I go alone. I guess I know a heap more about pioneering than you do, and I'm not fixing to be left behind." Well, they did a bit of more pleading with her, but in the end she got her way. And I must say that I, for one, was glad to know that we were to have one experienced pioneer as Grandma with us on our dangerous journey through the Indian country. During the next few weeks, I kept my ears open to pick up bits of information to relate to my sister dolls who were gradually becoming reconciled to the thought of the journey. I told them I had heard Mrs. Reed say there were others from Springfield going west in April. 2 families by the name of Donna, friends of the Reeds who had several children Patty and Puss's age, and some little ones like Tommy and Jimmy. In their Saturday night reading club, they had been reading a book about California by a Mr. Hastings, who said that there was so much sunshine that chills and fever and aching bones were unknown. The land was rich and good for several crops a year, and the Americans who were settled out there said there were room for many more. The mothers did not think much of the idea at first, but as the cold Illinois winter dragged on, and Patty's mother had so many headaches and miseries, she was at last persuaded that life would be much better in California, and when she made up her mind to go, the Donner mothers decided to go too. That's where I'm gonna leave off of reading Patty Reads a Doll. Thank you for listening to me reading the story about the Donner Party. I'm probably going to be doing more videos like this, so if you want to sit back and let me read y'all a story, you're more than welcome to listen. And yeah, thanks for watching.